Hello everyone, welcome back to one more session on creating dynamic controls in HTML. So as with the previous definition, we created a text box control dynamically, and to do that we created a container, the div container. If you remember, we used the ID as main. So I'm going to continue from this point, and in this video what we are going to do is we are going to add in a radio control group. Let's say we'll create a group for the gender selection, that's male and female gender selection. So let us start from the very beginning. The first thing we need to do is we should be able to identify this div tag programmatically. So I'm going to create a link. Okay, so I'm going to use the get element by ID, and we're going to use the ID main. Why? Because main is the identifier of the div tag in which we're going to create our elements. Now, next thing, we're going to create these input elements. Why input? Because radio buttons are created using the input tag. So input is the element by which we're going to create the radio button, right? So we'll create one more variable. Okay, so that's so right now what we are doing is we are creating the element, and we are creating it on the document, right? But then we are going to place it inside the div tag. So input is created. Now we have to set a few attributes, right? So we're going to add in the first thing. What is going to be the type of this? So that is going to be the radio control, right? And then we will add in one more very important. That's the name because I want to create a group, right? So let's say I'm going to call it RD. And maybe if you want to give the value, you can go ahead and give the value. So maybe we can just go ahead and fill in those extra gaps here. Let me give the value as well. So what is my first one? My first one is going to be the male option. So let me take the value M. And then you can go ahead and set one more attribute like checked. And you can say, okay, the value is true. So this option would be selected as default. Likewise, I'm going to create one more. So one more input tag, I'm going to just copy and paste it here. So let's say I'm going to change the names here. So this is my second control. So I have both the controls available with me. Now for the final one, we're going to use the A, which represents this. And if you remember in the previous definition, we added the uh, the append method. So I'm going to go ahead and use an a.append. So what are those things that I'm going to put in? Now, append method can take multiple parameters. So the first thing that we are going to put in is the gender, right? With a space, obviously. And then I want to put in what? B1, that's the control, right? And along with this B1, I want to add in the text. What's the text? Mail. Do I want it touching the radio button, or I want a space between? So I'm going to put in one more space here before and after the text, because I want a space between the next radio button and the previous radio button. So my second radio button would be in B2, and this should have the label. Obviously, um, I hope you can make out the labels male and female would be after the radio button. So I think this should work, and we are done with the code. Let's see. Well, okay, so that's my button. When I click on it, you can see that I'm getting this option. Okay, we're going to have the female option selected. No, there's no gender bias. It's just that I want you to understand that it is not necessary always to have the first option always selected, and I'm giving it the value true. Now true and false is boolean value, so You can go ahead and give it without the, let's see if it works. So here you can see, okay, I'll reduce the size. So now I think you can see the female option is selected. If you go to the inspect element, you will be able to see, um, so we can inspect the value you can see here. Oh, this is the form. So there's the div tag, and inside the div tag, you can actually see that, I'm getting this gender, and then the text box, sorry, the input box, and then again the mail option, and again the input box for the radio with the checked equal to true, right? So I'm getting this. The other option and another workaround would be, instead of using the append method, I could have gone and added the append child method and used a little of the inner HTML property. So that is also possible, but I find this to be very simple to understand, that this is going to be the sequence, the text followed by the radio button which I have created here, yeah, followed by the label again, and followed by the second radio button that I've created here, and again followed by some text. Right, so this is much simpler to work instead of using the append child and the inner HTML and all. So that's all for this video. See you in the next one.